Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Jeremy Schumacher. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm the Jer in Wellness with Jer. Thanks for stopping by and checking out the channel. Like, subscribe, internet, regular, please to make our appropriate sacrifices at the altar of the algorithm. We are back with part 2, at least in my order, of the DC Expanded Universe. Extended Universe? What's the E stand for? The DCEU, the cinematic universe of DC Comics, with Wonder Woman 1984. If you haven't seen my first video, the review of Wonder Woman, you can check that out on my channel. And we are going to do Wonder Woman 1984. Again, if you haven't watched that first video, and you're not going to, I guess, and you're committed to watching this one without watching the other one. I watched the DC movies in storyline order, so in the chronological order within the films, as opposed to the release date order or the real world's chronological order. So since Wonder Woman took place during the World Wars, World War II, and this one takes place in 1984. It is before the arrival of Superman and Clark Kent in the DC universe. So we're doing Wonder Woman 1984 because that's the second one I watched in order. Man of Steel was the only one I watched in theaters or saw when it came out. All the other DC movies were new to me. And so I watched them all in like a month, which is a mistake. Wonder Woman 84 also had Pedro Pascal. It launched a very well established meme of this is good, but it could be better. And that's the only good thing that came out of the movie, I think. So again, Gal Gadot returning as the main character, Wonder Woman. This time we're fast forwarded into the modern world, the 1980s. Chris Pine returns as the love of Wonder Woman's life, Steve, the pilot. Steve the pilot's kind of a basic character. Pedro Pascal is the bad guy, and again, like I feel like similar to the original Wonder Woman, I usually don't record in glasses. Most people don't see me in glasses in public. The movie tries to do an interesting thing where it's telling an interesting story with a villain who's not just evil, like Apocalypse is evil. Doomsday is evil. Lex Luthor is evil. Most of the villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe are evil. In the Spider-Man movies, Green Goblin's evil. Like most storytelling within superheroes is just good versus bad. Good guys win. Hooray. Everyone gets to go home and feel good at the end of the day. And so I think the DC movies and Patty Jenkins, the movies she directed specifically, are a good look at like, hey, what if we told a more nuanced story than that? Again, I just think the execution falls flat. I don't know if it needs to be like, I think maybe a mini series because as I spoke highly of Peacemaker, like I think DC figured it out by the time Peacemaker rolls around. But yeah, I don't know. It just the magic system, maybe. So basically, in the movie, there's a magical item. Kristen Wiig, who plays the cheetah poorly, unbelievably, um, is not a knock on her as an actress necessarily. Just again, in the story, it's not awesome. So we have two bad guys, which again can work out okay or can be a little too much depending on the superhero movie. Christopher Nolan, The Dark Knight. Too many villains in one movie. So I don't know. Again, like I want to like it. Gal Gadot absolutely crushes it as Wonder Woman. It just it doesn't pan out. So Max Lord is a failed businessman. He's kind of a slimy car salesman. He finds this magical item. He kind of flirts with Kristen Wiig's character, who's a nerdy scientist that no one really pays attention to. So she's to the moon. He finds the Dream Stone, which makes your wishes come true, but at what cost? Asks the movie, and the cost is whatever you paid for admission to this movie because you're not getting that money back. I don't know. Just, again, like the idea of someone taking over the world through like wish fulfillment and like both the Wonder Woman movies kind of have this commentary that like maybe humanity's not great, but like Wonder Woman's gonna save them anyway. And like, does that make her more heroic for saving people who don't deserve to be saved? Question mark. And like one of the weird beats with like the DC movies is like Man of Steel is like humans are worth saving, and like that's Superman's thing, and it comes across in the movies really believably and like is well done in Man of Steel. Like Superman is the best of us, but it's because he's representing the best of humanity, not because humanity's bad, although humanity might be bad. But like, I don't know, but again, that story is basic good versus evil, and so maybe it's just again the movie works well. But the wish fulfillment thing is kind of a weird villain. The always needing more was right there as like capitalism is bad, we're ruining the planet, all these bad things are happening because we always want more. Like I think that's what we're kind of going for in the film. We just don't quite stick it, or we either don't commit to it and tell it hard enough, because like that would make DC look bad, and whoever owns the movie rights and the movie companies and the theater chains and all the capitalism that goes into somebody paying money and $17 for popcorn to go see a movie would make the capitalism look bad. So telling a story that's truly anti-capitalistic would be tough. So they don't do that. But then like from a wish fulfillment standpoint, like again, it's just like so almost comically bad. Like Diana, who's this super successful um regular human, also super successful Wonder Woman. Apparently, she's been doing the Wonder Woman thing for like 30 plus years and nobody's figured it out yet. She's barely ever been filmed. No one can catch her on camera. So she's doing like an incognito superhero thing, which is also just kind of unbelievable. She's a really bad scene where she like flies using the lasso of truth to, to fly, question mark. And again, like maybe it was cool when you didn't watch all these movies back to back to back to back, but like watching these movies back to back to back, again, the one that came out in 2013, Man of Steel, did the flying scene much better. So I don't know. There's just a bunch of stuff that's embarrassing. Pedro Pascal, again, like dude can act. He's did the Mandalorian and he's fantastic in it, and you can't see his face, and that's how good of an actor he is. He's just kind of wasted on this sleazy character who doesn't have a ton of depth until maybe like the last scene of the film that he's in where he feels regret about being a bad dad. But like again, the film doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't say wish fulfillment is bad. It doesn't say capitalism, the desire for more, the consumption at any cost. It just kind of is like, and then we all went back to normal because Wonder Woman saved the day. And it doesn't make any sense. Like Jessica Jones tells this story where people, their bodies are invaded. And that's what happens. So Steve is brought back to life because Diana wishes it so. And that's her wish through the Dreamstone. And so Steve comes back and like takes over this guy's body. And like, I, I we don't do anything with that. It's like 13 going on 30, but like not a body swap. It's not consensual. I don't know. The movie doesn't do anything with it. It's kind of weird. And so Diana has to like let go of her wish, and then he just disappears. But like she totally slept with that dude. So like, but was it Steve? Because she thought it was Steve. It's weird. Again, there's a lot of like weird things that the comics could do, and they could be done well. We have Starro the Conqueror in the Suicide Squad movie, the second one. And it's delightful. It's amazing. He shoots starfish everywhere and they take over people. Like we could have done the mind control thing with a villain that made sense and was an enjoyable film. It happened. That's not what this movie does. So the Dreamstone is like wish fulfillment. Max Lord like takes over a government outcropping and satellites and uses it to broadcast every television, because that makes it more powerful, but also bleed out of the ears. Like again, there's just a lot going on that's not really connected to anything. It's kind of like because that's how magic works, apparently. Um, and like maybe it's a trickster god from the pantheon of gods that Wonder Woman comes from, but like again, it's poorly explained. It's just a lot going on. And then you have the cheetah, which like in canon is one of Wonder Woman's greatest arch enemies. why we went with like a well-established, one of the funniest actors they could have picked, why we chose her for this film. I don't know. I don't know. It's just hard to take her serious, like when everything we've ever seen her in is comedy, and like this isn't the vehicle to do your character like reveal. This is a pop culture superhero film set in the 80s. So like it's weird. She's not really believable as like a nerdy scientist. She's more believable as a nerdy scientist than the villain. But then she becomes Cheetah and like I don't know, beats up a guy who kind of like molests her or like not molests her, but like is accosting her. Got a child interruption here.
I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
Found out I can pause a recording mid record. How fun. Learning new things. Um, so yeah, there's like a street urchin. I don't know, it's like an old man. He's not homeless though, he's just a drunkard. I don't know. Maybe that was the thing in the 80s to go to the bar and then stand on a sidewalk and catcall women. But yeah, Cheetah like beats him up, like beyond a reasonable amount, but also kind of for like, does that make her the bad guy in the situation? It's a weird like character beat in like, therefore we think he's bad. Diana comes around and she's much better about it, you know, but like just in comparison, and like Cheetah's not presented as like she thinks she's a hero, but whoops, she's actually a villain. She's kind of like, I like the attention, I like being hot, I like being, you know, super fast and better than people, and so I'm the bad guy. Like she's the classic villain arc. Pedro Pascal's Max Lord is bit off more than he could chew and becomes a bad guy because of that, but like can't stop. That's why like the capitalism story was right there and was easy, and they just I don't know, that's not the story they told. So again, like Gal Gadot is good to great, but like the movie, I don't want to say wastes her. I would just say like it's not a good movie. The plot's not good, the action's not good, the CGI is not good. Probably I don't know. I don't know if they're hampered by COVID. It came out in COVID, like it was a direct to HBO Max release. They had some theater stuff, but like it was at the height pre vaccine, so like not a great time to release a movie. Wonderful in that like needed needed a break from reality, but it just wasn't a great movie. And again, like so I think superhero stories can do a couple of things. They can go straight escapism, tell a simple story, good versus evil, comic book, like comically obvious. Here's the bad guy, here's the good guy. Good prevails. Hooray, everyone goes home happy. Or I think superhero stories can like deconstruct things. They can pull out things from our everyday lives and blow them to such a ridiculous proportion that like we get it. Like The Boys is a really good superhero story. The comic book run from Garth Ennis, um, and like the Amazon Prime show, doing a great job of tackling a topic like fascism, about living in a police state, about unfettered wealth. Like these are good things. Corporate greed, great. Like let's use a comic book story to tell that story. So again, like I think comic book stories can do these things. Deconstructions. Watchmen obviously is considered kind of the pinnacle of that. But I'm even reading like some of, well, I'm reading Alan Moore, so a lot of deconstructions. Like I'm reading some of the old Swamp Things. I just reread Todd McFarlane's run on Spider-Man, which was really popular at the time. Kind of, I don't want to say single-handedly saved the comic book industry, but like it's dark and it's aggressive and like there's religious zealotry. There's why aren't we taking care of homeless people? There's, you know, Spider-Man can't help the homeless people and also make ends meet while working at the Daily Bugle, so he can't do it all on his own. Peter Parker can't do it. but Peter Parker can help people that Spider-Man can't. Like, there's these stories that have some depth to them that like are realistic. Mary Jane is left alone every night because Peter Parker's out being Spider-Man. Like, these are good stories. We can relate to the push and pull of relationships. We can relate to existing under capitalism. We can relate to living in a police state. Like, all these stories that superhero stories can do and do really well because you have someone who's running around in spandex fighting crime, like, because they're ridiculous, because we can take these tropes or these thoughts or these social norms and expand them so wildly because of the superhero world, we can actually do something with them. And you either commit to wearing spandex and fighting crime to a ridiculous degree, or you just tell the basic story. But like, I think the problem with Wonder Woman is it just went halfway. It tried to tell a better story than just simple good versus evil, but it didn't commit. And it wasn't just that simple story. So it's muddy and it's not it's complex, but not in a way that says anything. It's just complex for complexity's sake, which makes it hard to follow and unsatisfying at the end of it. Um, the movie also there's like no action in the movie for like the first solid 90 minutes. It's a strangely paced film. And you might be like, but Jared, there's a whole thing about like Amazonian Olympics. But like, it's about Diana as like a 7-year-old competing against these other warriors. And I don't know if you know anything about sports, but even superhumans like Amazonians aren't great at sports at 7 years old. So her almost beating everyone else doesn't make her look awesome. It makes everyone else look terrible. So again, just like a weird story beat. Like, it's just not a good film. I want to like it. I want a female superhero we can all get behind and root for and love. And I would love to have someone who's just kind of like middle finger to the incels and the misogynistic community that exists online, especially in superhero communities. Like, this wasn't that film. It also wasn't like a fun like 1980s romp like Stranger Things. Maybe we're just exhausted from 1980s cultural throwbacks, but like Stranger Things does the 80s in a fun way where it's like, hey, I recognize those sheets. I had those when I was a child. It doesn't like hit you over the head with like the tropes from the 80s. It just exists in the 80s. Whereas Wonder Woman 1984 is like, remember malls? Aren't malls fun? Should we have a huge fight in a mall? Wouldn't a mall be great? And like, no, no, it's not good. I don't know. It's not a good film. I would love to have, again, some redeeming quality. I just don't have one. It's not a good film. This was the second film I watched in the DC movie universe, and like, I'm glad I continued. I kind of knew like Man of Steel was the next one, and I wanted to see that. I basically went into this a thought experiment of like, I'm gonna watch all the DC movies and see if they're really as bad as everyone acts like it, and they weren't, but like this one was. Uh, but yeah, I really just wanted to watch the new Suicide Squad and watch Peacemaker. So again, that's my reward at the end of going through these movies, these movie reviews with me, is we're gonna get to talk about Peacemaker, which is a delight. Wonder Woman 1984, not a good film. Um, just not good. So DC will course correct here soon. We're gonna do a jump back and we're gonna hit kind of the Justice League, the main stories in the Justice League. So we will do Man of Steel, which I think was good and holds up, and then we'll do Superman versus Batman: Dawn of Justice, which I think got a lot more flack than it deserved. Then Justice League, which just also isn't very good. And then the Suicide Squads, which the first one's pretty bad, but not for the reasons that people want to point out. And then the second one's pretty good. And then Peacemaker is really great. And that's where I pretended that the DC movies stopped existing before we got to Flash or before we got to Black Adam, which I think only had a good end credits scene. And then we're not going to get that. So another bummer. But like, hey, the next ones should be good. I'm super excited to talk about Man of Steel. I actually very much enjoyed it, more than I remembered enjoying it the first time I watched it. So I'm excited to talk about why Superman sucks so often and how Man of Steel avoided that because, again, I actually liked Superman in those films. Um, it's a bit of a reset. So Man of Steel coming up next, and then we'll get into why Man of Steel worked, but Batman in this universe didn't. I got thoughts on all of it. Um, hey, thanks for stopping by the channel. Like, subscribe, drop down in the comments. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me what movies or songs you want to see next. I think. I learned how to just pause when I had a child interrupt me because he's hungry when he should be sleeping at bedtime. The joys of recording at home. Um, but I think I got StreamYard figured out. So happy with that. So yeah, let's figure out YouTube algorithms. Like, subscribe, comment. I think commenting is really where the magic happens. So y'all can comment. That's super helpful. Um, yeah, thanks for stopping by. We'll be back soon with another DC movie review. All right, take care, everybody. Peace.